Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be Norsca led by Spacebow, and the vampire counts here led by Gondola the Patient, coming in with a mass Blood Knight build, which is going to be super fun. Now, for the Norscan build, going to be Marauder Berserkers in the front line. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 of them in total. And Berserkers do okay against vampire counts. They can really mulch through chaff. They have 57 weapon strength, bonus for infantry, super high melee attack, and they're very low melee defense of 24s and a huge deal when they're fighting like zombies and skeletons. However, they do get wrecked really badly by Scab Scrates from the White Kings and also against the Grave Guard if you do see them in action. But aside from that, they can certainly get some work done and do have very good staying power with really high base leadership and good grinding potential against the Undead. Secondary line, Marauder Champions with great weapons, so going a little bit hard in the paint with some elite infantry here for Norsca, and more champs in the back. So not going to be seeing javelins or any ranged tools, so one of the big issues for the Norscans probably is going to be taking down the Mortis engine, but it's not going to be impossible. Giant Mammoth character, we do have some Famir Balefiend action as well. Looks like he's going to be rocking Burning Head, and he himself is a decent single entity fighter, so really going to have to do a lot of lifting with these two. But the Marauder Chieftain is here. He's got the he's got some item on him. Let's see what it is. It's the Flaming Axe. Oh, interesting tech. Okay. So this gives you fire damage against vampire counts, which does mitigate some of the healing effectiveness. That's kind of cool. And of course, the Balefiend is going to be casting Burning Heads, which is going to be triggering the Kindle Flame synergy, so additional 20% fire weakness against the fire damage on the Mammoth. So then you could augment the Mammoth's already very high damage by quite a bit there, which is pretty cool. Alright guys, on the other side of the battlefield, we do see Ye Old Mortis engine coming up with zombies, and a mass mobility build coming in from Gondola, which I love. We got Blood Knights, Varix Reavers, Blood Knights, and Blood Knights. So 2 anti-infantry Blood Knights, which will be very hard counters against the Berserkers if they can isolate them. Varix Reavers, a generalist, good against infantry, good against cav, you know, kind of just a middle-of-the-road piece. Not going to be extremely brutal against one or the other, but very solid. And we are going to see anti-large Blood Knights, which are going to be there to try and deal with the Condom Wolves, I would imagine, the Skin Wolves. That's going to be what's on the menu for those bad boys. Alright, Varix Reaver is going to be posturing right here, and in the meantime, the Norscan's going to be setting up shop on their back point and trying to decide where to go from here. The Vampire's going to be surging forth, and honestly, yeah, go for some free charges on these Marauders. They're undefended right now. And you got Heinrich Kemmler back here. Looks like he's rocking Winds of Death as well. But Varric's going to get in. Nice charge right there. And a lot of the Berserkers, they were not designed to take barded cavalry charges here, so they're going to be paying the Troll Toll pretty good. As the Blood Knights looked like they wanted to get in there, but they saw the Mammoth and they're like, no thank you, Daniel, we're going to get out of here. And wow, look at the Berserkers actually giving it back to the Varix Reavers a little bit. You know, I guess 57 weapon strength is still 57 weapon strength. I don't know if there's some witchcraft or something shot over there, but overall the Varix Reavers only lost 6 models, the Berserkers lost 25, and these guys do have passive healing, so they are going to be healing a fair amount of that damage. Alright, Cycle Charge going to be coming back in. We do get the Blood Knights with Lances moving in to the Berserkers in the front. Bit of a risky play with the big Mammoth nearby. It might be able to pick off a couple of these Blood Knights. It's like reminds me of Lord of the Rings, the giant Mammoth chasing some retreating cav here. But the Blood Knights take how many casualties? Looks like they lost about 6 models, as there were some Marauder Horsemasters there doing a little bit of chipping damage as well. And another Hex Wraith, oh not another, but the first Hex Wraith is being called in, and cool. If it can avoid burning heads, it can be very effective. I mean, they do have really high Phys Res, and Norsca has a little bit of magic damage on their Famir, and of course the Balefiend himself will probably be beelining towards those Hex Wraiths. We'll have to see how that goes. Another cav charge, thinking about going in for the Blood Knights. It is going to be the sword and board version, so their charge bonus isn't that great. I mean, it's still really good at 53 actually, so I do take that back. But compared to the Lance Blood Knight, but where they really shine is going to be in sustained combat. And the other Blood Knight's going to be charging into the Berserkers in the front, getting a hammering charge there, and basically just trying to keep these guys back and keep Norsca from advancing up. Norsca is being very cautious. You'll notice how they're not advancing too aggressively yet, but I would wager they will soon once they get a couple Skin Wolves out. We do see one right here, because they don't want to get picked apart. If they advance out too early without proper support and having their own mobile defensive pieces here in the Skin Wolves, then they could get isolated and the cav could really start to pick off the infantry models. So, patience here from our Norscan champion. A little bit unorthodox. As far as Norsca goes, I don't think that's really in their repertoire, as their front line is literally Berserkers, but here they go. Now they're going to be surging forth, because you obviously can't win a game of Total War Competitive without owning more than one objective. You know, I mean, obviously you can win with one objective if you're able to get the enough points prior to that. But in this situation, he's going to need to advance up and get this point here. So, Marauder Berserkers have taken some damage from the charges, and the Undead have taken a little bit of damage as well. Blood Knights have lost some models here, Varix Reavers, but for the most part, decent little trading, really wearing down that front line. And the Mortis Engine certainly going to have its work cut out for it, but we do see some answers being brought out for the Mortis Engine. Marauder Horsemasters hit very hard, 33 missile strength, so they're going to want to save some of their ammo, make sure they're not throwing it at zombies here, and use them to take down the Mortis Engine here in the back. Big Cav charge coming in, and the 2 Skin Wolves going to be forming ranks behind the Berserkers. You can see one here and one here to ward off the charges, and it looks like the Blood Knights are going to be warded off by that and will be retreating. Now, what's going to be called in the back? More Black Knights. Wow, he's really going into it. I thought he might open with Cav and then be spamming out like Graveguard and Infantry from there, but Homeboy's really leaning into the flavor here. Now, you could charge some Sword and Board Blood Knights in, bait the Skin Wolves into the combat, and then maybe flank them with some of the anti-large Blood Knights. Easier said than done, of course, as we do see the Hex Wraiths moving in. Hex Wraiths with their Fizz Res will endure a little bit, but even still, Skin Wolves have really nice anti-large, and we do see a fair amount of Skin Wolves coming in, which is going to be rough. It looks like Heinrich Kemmler going to be cackling back there and dropping a zombie summon on these guys, or Winds of Death, actually. Didn't do terrible. One Berserker unit does get melted a bit, but ultimately I don't think it's worth the Winds of Magic. In that situation, probably just using like Invos would be better on the Blood Knights, try and keep them alive. Mainline fighting is partially underway here. Hex Wraiths are going to be running away from the Skin Wolves, as some Blood Knights with Lances are going to be forming ranks behind them, and they definitely should charge in here, or retreat and then, prepare a charge. Those Skin Wolves are a little bit overextended. You'll notice they're slightly away from the infantry at this point, so it would be a good opportunity to get in there. Dire Wolves and Skin Wolves, Dire Wolves and the Vampire Counts and the Dire Pack are going to be gathering. Hex Wraiths moving in to absorb the brunt of the charge, and the Blood Knights, we're going to see if they're going to follow up here. It looks like one of the Blood Knights going to be trying to creep around the side. In the meantime, we do get the Varix Reavers being taken on 2v1, not having a great time. They are battling versus Skin Wolves and Norscan Ice Wolves. 2v1, the Varix Reavers are going to die, and they're frostbitten too, which means they're going to have trouble getting away. But the Vampires committing very heavily to the fight on Objective 1. All their Cav going to be moving in, Dire Pack getting melted very quickly, because there are some pretty good quality infantry here. The Marauder Champions with great weapons are going to be able to bonk down infantry-sized Wolf equivalents very, very easily, or Hounds, and the rest of the Cav are starting to have a bad time as well. As the Blood Knights are going to be getting hit with an Invo, which is going to, heal them up a little bit, maybe keep them from crumbling out. The Hex Wraith still fighting, and it looks like one unit of Knights was able to get away, but these are Black Knights. Mortis Engine going to be getting into combat, draining down the Norscan Ice Wolves and trying to help out in combat versus the Marauder Champions as well as the Berserkers over here. And the Black Knights going to get a good charge. They are going to get a huge, huge charge into the side of the Frost Wolves here. And Frost Wolves are, not super into getting charged. They don't have the most defensive stats, 15 armor and 21 melee defense. More of an offensive unit that wants to be dogpiling on something else. But the Mortis Engine probably going to win this fight over here. The Marauder Champions are shaken and stirred, tar-pitted by zombies. And we do also have the Sword and Board Blood Knights doing a very good job. These are the ones that got beat up on the other side, but they did manage to make their way over, and now they're in an ideal situation. Sword and Board Blood Knights are actually really, really awesome. Normally, or historically, Nurgle was pretty favored against Vampire Counts, and I still think Nurgle might have a slight advantage there, but some people have been innovating with some cool strategies using the Sword and Board Blood Knights to defeat the Nurgle infantry, leaving the big monsters and, Kugath-type characters to be isolated, which is pretty cool. But the Mortis Engine getting an Invo, now being hunted by the Marauder Chieftain. Chieftain does get a little bit blocked up by some of the Knights here, and the Mortis Engine is going to be cackling away, as we do see Space Pope doubling his opponent's value, but with a lot of healing in the Vampiric roster, you never know. Stranger things have happened. On the back objective here, objective number 2, we do see Blood Knights with Lances and Sword and Board Blood Knights. No, it's going to be double Lances fighting back here, trying to clear out some of the chaff, and they do clear some of that out. Berserkers are chewing through the zombies here, so there's going to need to be a little something. And if the Vampires want any chance of winning, they really have to keep this Mortis Engine alive. And it's still going to be a very tall order, considering the value difference that we are seeing here in this game. Heinrich Kemmler being hunted down by the big Dread Mammoth. It's going to get in there, and there he goes, boinking down Heinrich. Heinrich going to be piecing out right now, and he's pretty quick on his feet, I guess, 66. He is a little bit wounded right now, which does affect his speed, but he's going to be faster than a Mammoth, if I'm not mistaken. So Blood Knights moving forward, maybe to engage against the Marauder Chieftain. If they get a surround of the Marauder Chieftain, they could actually do some good damage. And I don't know if Heinrich Kemmler brought Krell to party, but a Krell summon on top of the Mammoth while it's surrounded by Blood Knights could be very, very effective. So Mortis going to be retreating here. We do see zombies getting worn down. Mortis Engine needs to find some zombies to stack on top of. On the backside, we are going to be seeing Dire Pack coming in, and Dire Pack will be pretty good at tearing up Skin Wolves if it can jump them on the back. In a straight-up fight, Dire Pack would actually probably not trade terribly in a straight-up fight, since Skin Wolves really rely on their bonus versus large. Heinrich going to be duking it out with some Berserkers here, which doesn't feel great for them, but we do see the Marauder Chieftain actually taking some damage, getting surrounded by a reasonably healthy Blood Knight unit, while the injured one is going to be chasing down these Marauder Horsemasters here, and the Mortis Engine somehow has returned. It's very much still alive. Heinrich going to be dropping heal. Invocation of Nehek is going to be keeping these bad boys going. And this is where Gondola can potentially come back into the game, as we do see the Marauder Chieftain getting hammered down here. Skinwolf's obviously not in a great trade as well. And ooh, nice play there from Gondola. Getting the Dire Pack into this fight to chase the Skinwolves off is going to be brutal. And they do actually get terrified and broken. So that's really, really clutch. So suddenly a value gap that was almost double is now down to a much more manageable position here for the Undead. And Mortis Engine should be able to do some good draining. We do see some Norscan Trolls in the mix. Now, Norscan Trolls are certainly not terrible at beating down, you know, the non-anti-large Blood Knights. And even against the anti-large Blood Knights, if they have some infantry support on the ground, they can trade okay. But their leadership is very fickle compared to something like a Famir. So they can, run into some issues with breaking. Look at this, guys. Marauder Chieftain getting hammered by the Blood Knights. And looks like he's going to get away. That is going to be some sort of foul witchcraft there. It looks like a burning head. Yeah, I think that... Oh, okay, he was trying to get the 2 ghouls coming in. I didn't see that. But there are going to be 2 Schmeagles coming in. They do re-secure the back objective. Currently, the points are very, very close in this game. And look at that. Gondola is now back on the menu. And if the Norscans do lose their lord here, Space Pope loses the Marauder Chieftain, that's going to be pretty rough. Norsca's base leadership is decent on their infantry. The Berserkers, for example, are sitting at a base of 80. So it's not like a faction that just crumbles when their lord dies, but it's still significant, especially in grindy fights against the Undead. Mortis Engine really getting a chance to shine right now, draining down all the Berserkers while being supported by some of the zombies. Blood Knights moving in, Schmeagles have arrived as well, and they do decent damage. I mean, against the non-armored Trolls only have 40 armor. They can chew them down a little bit. More Ghouls going to be pushing the back objective, encountering some of the Berserkers here. Skinwolves attacking into the Blood Knights, and the Blood Knights are a little bit outnumbered, so they'll probably end up losing that fight. We'll have to see. More Berserkers on the way in. Meanwhile, over on this objective, we do see the big man getting dragged down here, and the Marauder Chieftain certainly not going to want to tell his Norscan buddies about being beaten by an old haggard Necromancer Wizard in melee here. But Heinrich Kemmler getting in there, and might be able to get the kill. He does have the Chaos Tombblade after all, so I guess he's got some scary sword. And he's getting a couple attacks there. 160 HP left on this bad boy, and I think the Mammoth is going to be dispatched, and down goes the Chieftain, down goes the Mammoth. And the Hexwraiths now going to be taking over this objective. And as cool as the Frostwolves are and as good of a unit as they are, they do not do magic damage. So against the Hexwraiths, they're going to be having a terrible time on that objective, yes. Heinrich Kemmler and company grabbing objective number 1. Objective 2 belongs to the Vampire Counts as well. And objective 3 is going to be maybe taken by the Vampire Counts. Granted, we see the Mortis Engine starting to finally dissipate here. Heinrich is nowhere nearby with invocations to save it. And we have seen two Winds of Death this game. I don't know if they were overcasted, but potentially, if they were, probably would not have any invos left at this point in the game. Norscan Trolls going to get pounded. Hexwraiths are just going to annihilate them. They're very spooky. They do cause terror. Trolls have bad leadership. Their lord just died. So they're going to be running very, very quickly here. And Norsca, with a desperate attempt to hold on to its objective, currently looking at the points here. We do see the Vampire Counts have all 3 objectives. And, are looking pretty cozy on that right now. So they're getting 3 victory tickets, 913 against 992. So the Norscans do have a bit of a points lead. Going to be tough to claw their way back, although with the Mortis Engine gone, maybe... I don't know, though. The value gap is basically the same at this point, and even Vampire Count favored. We've seen invos, we've seen Mortis Engine healing, a lot of healing in the Vampire Count roster. So there's going to be a burning head. He's trying to anticipate where the Schmeagles are going to be running. A very good dodge there by Gondola. He's able to get away with the Crypt Ghouls and avoid that. The zombies moving into attack, and the Hexwraiths now going to be surging over here to try and get to the objective, although it looks like Norsca might be able to get this one back. We'll see. Black Knights being called in. And what do we have on the backside for Norsca? It's going to be Skinwolves. I feel like sometimes in this matchup you do see armored Skinwolves because of their effectiveness against like the Blood Knights and whatnot, since Blood Knights don't have the best AP, but I don't know. Regular ones seem totally fine too. They were doing very, very well this match. Heinrich chasing off some of the doggies. Going to need to go and deal with these Marauder champions. We do see some Trolls rallying in the distance here. And Norsca does start to lose a grip on the objective as Black Knights are going to be moving in. And Black Knights will wreck Berserkers pretty good. With 110 armor and their charge bonus of 75, as long as they get a good charge off, they should be A-okay. Alright, so now we do see the Vampire Counts ahead on points here. Heinrich Kemmler going to be heading back to the objective to try and stabilize that where he can. Schmeagles moving up towards the home objective here, and the Schmeagles will be pretty good against most of the Norscan infantry. I mean, Berserkers will beat them, but it's not a terribly one-sided trade. Zombies and chaff units being called out, so Zombies probably going to be sent to objective 1 to hold that down, while Skeleton Spears going to be sent over here to support Heinrich. Heinrich, though, oh man, could we see the reverse? Like, it looked like it was so dominant for Norsca in the beginning, but now it was dominant for Vampire Counts. But could we see the swing back? I mean, if Heinrich Kemmler does get killed here, that's going to be really brutal. And I don't know if he even has any zombie summons. That would, of course, help him a lot. He is in combat, and let's see what the spells he has. Okay, he does have zombie summons, but I think he's really out of Winds of Magic. I mean, Homie casted, I think 2 overcasted Winds of Death, which is like 24 or 28. It's some obscene amount of Winds of Magic. So unless you're going for like Manfredo, who has a ton of magic, it can be tough. You can run out and miss out on a lot of the essential spells. All right, so Heinrich Himmler here getting trapped, and it looks like he's going to be getting killed. Holy shit. All right, so it looks like Norsca's back of the menu, ladies and gentlemen. What a reverse Uno there. Here comes the Dire Pack, going to be charging into the back of these units. Not going to be there in time to save Homeboy. Heinrich is trying to cackle and get away here. He's laughing as evil necromancers do. And for the Vampire counts, they really just want to get enough points to win on one objective, but I don't think that's going to happen. This one looks like it's going to flip, man. Oh, Heinrich, he's running back to the objective, and it flips the Norsca, and Norsca will win on 2. So now the Vampires actually have to steal another objective back, which isn't going to be easy with Berserkers coming down at relatively full health. Oh my god, Heinrich Himmler stabilized, no frickin' way. And he's fighting in combat, and he does have the Chaos Tomb Blade, which provides nice healing right here, and resurrects nearby allies. That is so clutch for Heinrich. Man, okay, so he's able to get back. We do see the Undead arriving, Skeleton Spearmen, Skinwolves, Bale Fiend, as well as some Berserkers going to be arriving here, and that's going to be a big difference maker. For the Undead, it's going to be essential they don't lose Heinrich here. He really needs to stay alive. Norsca's coming, Skinwolves and Berserkers going to be trying to get to the objective here. Heinrich does get caught by the werewolves, and it looks like Norsca going to be dropping a burning head here, but the skeletons are able to dodge that, so very, very good stuff right there. And Heinrich Himmler is going to be cackling his last cackle as he does get karate chopped. And Norsca, do they get it? Oh, wow, it went to the Vampire counts. Okay, the Norscans didn't get there in time, but that burning head was able to get through and do some huge damage, and I don't know how long these skeletons in that Dire Pack are going to be holding for. Basically, it's just spray and pray at this point. Although, okay, this is a play opportunity. We do see the Crypt Ghouls defeating the Tattered Berserkers. You definitely should have moved these zombies up here and try and threaten that point, because there's a chance that you could get that. Marauder Horsemaster is going to be heading over there to mitigate that. We do see the Norscans on the cusp of getting this objective. Will the Vampires have enough to win on just their home point is the question, though. Skeleton Spearmen are holding out. Skeleton Spearmen here being butchered by the Marauders of Norsca. These guys look in extra beast mode as they do what they were designed to do, which was massacre chaff units. And they are going to be getting that done. On the backside here, Varix Reavers is going to be heading over towards Objective Trace. Yes, Crypt Ghouls are there. And Marauder Horsemasters do intercept them, and they have decent enough combat stats. The Horsemaster, 28 and 28 isn't terrible. Can certainly finish off some very tattered Smeagol's. But as it stands, Vampire counts win on just one objective. I don't know if Norsca is going to have enough time to get there, as we do see the points going up. Vampire counts are going to be sitting there, and Norsca just going full pedal to the metal, basically sending everything in. They don't have a lot of capture weight. Zombies are only 2 capture weight apiece, but there are some Smeagol's over here, some Golems, these Crypt Ghouls. But, you know, if they just stay on the objective, it should be enough. They only need to hold for 25 more seconds, so I do not think that Norsca is going to be able to get through here. Vampires probably close it out, especially with the Dire Pack coming in. Dire Pack will be able to fend these guys off. And ladies and gentlemen, what an insane roller coaster of a game. That was incredible, right? Really looked like, you know, Space Pope was dominating early, and then there was these weird like counter punches where his characters got isolated by the Blood Knights when the battle got more chaotic. And then it looked like Heinrich Himmler dying was going to be the game going back to Space Pope here. But what a great match by both players, and really fun to see unorthodox Vampire count play working, because Space Pope is a great player, and so is Gondola. They're both really, really solid tournament players. So that was really fun to see that. That was awesome. Blood Knights, 1,800, 1,500, and 500 of that one. That guy had a bad time. Mortis Engine able to get 2k value, pretty good. The one thing that was probably tough for the Vampire counts was the Winds of Death. Understandably, it can be good against Norsca, but I felt like if that magic had just been there for zombie summons and invos, would have been a bit stronger. But aside from that, great game, man, great game. I mean, that was still totally great as well. But I think one Winds of Death did some decent damage. The other one seemed to whiff a little bit, and it's a lot. That's a big, big spell there. For Space Pope's army, how'd the Berserkers do? I mean, look, a lot of kills, 436, 961 value on that guy, 1,400 there. So the Berserkers, they chatted it out pretty well. And despite getting beaten down, the Mammoth character did a lot of damage early on. With the Flaming Sword of Cormac, it looks like he was able to do some work. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Big performance from the Skinwolves. And we will be back with more action soon. Cheers.